So I'm going to show first the schedule that Maria just summarized. As she said, there would be 3 segments separated by breaks with question and answer. The first part, or the first segment, is going to be kind of general, covering some general topics, and also a little bit more specifically on cast-in-place walls. And then the second segment will be focused on MSE and silter pile walls, and then the last segment will be focused on sheet pile and soil nail walls, and then the second part on Thursday will be getting into much more detail of some design examples. So here are sort of 3 basic objectives for this webinar series, which I won't repeat what you see here, but the basic idea is to familiarize everyone with the available retaining wall types, which types are best suited for the various different types of conditions, what their pros and cons are, and then where to find basic design guidance for the various different types. And for the types that are more common, I'll be going into more detail. And then for the types that are less common, my goal is to provide at least enough information to get you started on tracking down the information you would need. One basic piece of just basic methodology in this webinar: when I refer to fill walls, I'm referring to retaining walls where fill is placed behind the wall in order to construct the final wall, and then cut walls are ones where the construction involves notching into an existing slope and then installing the wall in the existing slope and excavating soil from in front of the wall. So I'm going to summarize here just quickly the types of fill and cut walls I'll be talking about. And in each of those 2 categories, I've further subdivided them into ones that, in my experience, are relatively common, and then some others that are less common. And as I said, I'll try to at least provide some basic information for both the common and uncommon types. So the common type fill walls that I'm going to focus on primarily here are the 4 that are listed here: cast in place, cantilevered walls, and then proprietary MSE walls, proprietary concrete crib walls, and then proprietary concrete gravity block walls are all relatively common in my experience. And just to show some examples, I think everyone knows, but here's a conventional cast-in-place wall shown in cross-section, MSE wall, a couple of graphics here showing what those generally look like. Concrete crib walls are ones that are precast concrete and then have some sort of a space where fill can be placed within the unit to add more mass for stability. And then gravity block walls are ones that rely on the mass of the concrete blocks as well as any soil stacked over the tops of the blocks for stability. And there's a fair amount of blending that can happen between these types, like gravity block walls can be turned into MSE walls with the addition of reinforcing straps or reinforcing, I should say, soil reinforcing straps or soil reinforcing layers, as is shown on the graphic on the right. Some less common fill wall types, and I won't read these all off here, but instead I'll just show you some pictures or graphics for each of these. So what I've called a gravity wall, which is most commonly in my experience these days is used for retaining barriers along roadways. And by that I mean it really is relying primarily on its own mass as opposed to, say, soil weight to provide stability. So it doesn't have a footing, it's really just primarily acting, getting stability from its own mass of the concrete. Another kind of a variation on MSE walls, which is a little less common in my experience, are these precast concrete modular walls that have a facing and then a stem that gets embedded into the soil behind to engage the weight of the soil behind. Sometimes concrete masonry units can be used to construct retaining walls, gabion walls, which are wire baskets filled with concrete, or sorry, wire baskets filled with rocks uh, to achieve and then stacked to achieve a stable mass. um, Ecology block walls, which are mostly used for temporary walls, but sometimes you'll see them used permanently. Geosynthetic walls that are sometimes also called burrito wrap walls, that are a non-proprietary variation on an MSE wall. And they can sometimes have either a shotcrete face applied, or sometimes even can be planted to create kind of a vertical green wall. Oh, well, actually, that's this one. Yeah, so this is just a variation on the geosynthetic wall.